Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crilly. I'm back with another How to Draw video. Today we're going to be learning some illustration techniques as applied to a forest scene. Now this video is kind of in response to three different types of requests I've had. One is to do more videos on backgrounds, which to be sure I haven't done so many videos about backgrounds. The other is to do more full color videos, and so this one is going to be using watercolor and different techniques like that. And finally, maybe most importantly, I had some requests for more advanced videos that are more challenging and for more experienced artists. So this video is kind of going to do all three of those things. And speaking to the last point, you're going to see a lot of time-lapse. I know a lot of people hate that, but we're going to try to do a highly advanced illustration here that's going to take me at least several hours to complete, and so that means using a lot of time-lapse, but then coming back to sort of give tips. So I don't expect anyone to follow along with this video in a line-by-line way. You can try if you want, but it's really going to be more about giving general principles about adding color to an illustration. All right, let's go ahead and get on to the first thing. I'm going to be doing these distant background trees using a very light wash of blue watercolor paint. All right, so one thing I want to say first of all is I'm using watercolor here, but some of these principles can be used in any form of coloring, right? So you may prefer to do this with markers, in which case you find your really light, pale blue markers. You could do it digitally any way you want to, but the concept basically is that by doing these very distant background trees in a pale blue, you get a feeling of atmospheric perspective, that there's a mist hanging in the air and that sort of pushes these trees way back. Now, I'm going to do the sort of mid-distance trees here in a slightly darker color that begins to bring us toward the foreground. All right, so you can see that by darkening these trees here, they're coming closer to us and causing those earlier trees to really fall back and seem quite a distance away. You can see I sort of worked back into things that I thought were dark enough to begin with. I sort of reconsidered and thought, let's layer it in a little bit more. And that's kind of, the art of watercolor, or again, any type of coloring that you're doing is going back and working into things, changing things as you go to get it balanced. Now, what I'm going to do now is add quite a lot of darkness along the middle of this illustration, which I would call the midground, allowing the foreground here to be lighter again. But let's go ahead and darken in some of this area in the middle. All right, so we've kind of got that part done, and I just want to say that a lot of this illustration is inspired by the backgrounds that you see in Miyazaki films, particularly in Totoro is one of my favorite of his films, and also, interestingly, the movie Brave, which of course is done digitally, but it has some of these same principles of atmospheric perspective and so forth that I enjoy replicating in watercolor form. As I say, these things can apply to all manner of different kinds of artistic approaches. What I'm going to do now is move on to painting this tree here, and you're going to see my idea of the distant background being light, this midground being dark, and then this tree being light again as we move towards the foreground. All right, so you can see I've sort of gone right into adding texture to this bark. This is going to be, one of the few trees where you really do see the texture on it. But I'll be doing a lot more on this toward the end when I get into the sort of polishing phase. Now, the final thing I want to do now is add green for the grass down here. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is switch to using pastels, these sort of chalky, dry pastels, to add just another layer of color. This is my technique. I like to mix lots of different media together. Now here comes the fun part. I am going to start using this stuff called gouache, which is opaque paint, and I'm going to do a little bit of this, just a touch of it, real time, so that you can see it's thick enough that as I do this moss that's growing on the side of the tree, it shows up on top of all that blackness that I had created using the pastels. So that sort of gives you the basic idea of what I'm using and what the theory was behind it. And I'll go ahead again and do all this in time lapse. Okay, so you can see the effect that gouache creates of the leaves and grass and so forth. And now it's time to do what is really maybe the most important part, and that's the final polish. I'm going to be using my black Prismacolor. I'm going to be using all kinds of things, going back with the watercolor, just to tighten things up and bring it to its completion. Alright, well, there's my video on how to draw backgrounds, or paint them anyway. Please let me know what you thought of this video. Would you like to see me do more of these kinds of advanced videos, fewer of them, or never again, Krilly? Never ever do it again, dude. Get back to the easy stuff. You're killing me here. Or some of you indeed maybe thought this was still easy stuff. Whatever your opinion is, let me know. I really do appreciate getting your feedback. But for now, let me thank anyone who has supported me by getting any of my books. We've got Brody's Ghost, we've got Minky Falls, and we've got my instructional How to Draw Book Mastering manga. I greatly appreciate anyone who has supported me by getting those books, or just by subscribing, watching the videos, doing everything that you do to help me out. But it's time, clearly, for me to lay down this pencil. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I hope you found it useful, and I'll be back with another one real soon.